Hi guys, I am going to make this video about the importance of making models. Here I have the foot of Dara that I'm working on, and I need to place a servo in this area here. I don't like this file that I have right now, even though my friend Ray tells me that we should leave this because it gives us more access to higher torque from top of the leg by putting a stronger motor. The problem with that is that when I move the legs from the axis of the forward, backwards, and side to side, I have to make a program to account for those movements and to add movement to this part here, down here. And that's just going to be a lot of programming and having to look at that. So I prefer not to do that. So I'm going to move this away for a few seconds. I'm going to be specific with my distance so I can put it back later. So I'm going to leave it 8 inches far. Now I'm going to take this part out of here because I don't need it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify it. Before I modify it, I think I'm going to do a copy and paste so I can leave the original file untouched. And that way I can work on another one. And I'm going to move it the same distance, 8 inches to the side. That way I can go back if I need that file, if I need that part. So on this one, now I don't need, I know that this is my physical object that I have to account for that controls that the big toe. And this part I don't need anymore. This is the original part where Mr. Ray says to leave it there. So it controls it from higher above the leg. And as I said, the problem is that when this moves side to side, I have to account for that whenever it moves from forward or backwards or leaning forward or backwards. I have to account for that movement also. So I'm going to have to make a program for it. And it seems to be a lot of work, a lot of, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So I think it's better to just add another servo to the bottom section here and eliminate the parts that I don't need anymore. This section I need for the small servo that controls these little toes. But I only need the front section, not the back. So the first thing I want to do is I need to get a cube, place it somewhere where I can move it around and delete the part that I don't need. I need to make sure that I move it enough to leave where the servo attaches to the front part. That's about right. This is the screws that the servo attaches to. So anything from behind that, I don't need. Now this cube is too small. I will have to enlarge it, make it bigger. And you will notice that if you take this cube and just try to make it bigger by using um, the tool that enlarges objects, which is the smart scale. The problem doing that is that it changes the shape from a square to a totally random object because this angle was selected when I put the cube to this part originally. So that angle changed. It was not a square anymore. So all I do if I try to change these numbers is just completely keep changing the shape of this object. I don't need that. So I'm just going to go back and make it back to a square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the faces of the cube. That will maintain that correct angle. I'm going to press and pull. And it doesn't matter how big I make this. All I want is to cover that original file from the front. My object is right now to cover that back section that I don't need. I can move those lines. I can move this center, but I need to change this here to cover that part again. I'm going to press and pull. I'm going to check the bottom section to make sure that, yep, you can see there that I still have some left. So I need to change that face, make it a little bit bigger. Press and pull. And now I need to do the last part, which is back here, to remove anything that I don't need back here. Press pull again. And now I have everything covered for that part. I only need the front section, not the back. So what I'm going to do is now use my subtract and click on what I want to keep minus what I don't want. Press enter, and that will delete and leave me the part that I need. All this down here was for that original part that was here. Now I don't need it. So I'm going to need to delete all the shapes. There was a screw that was going to go there. I don't need that. This was the center of the pivot. I'm not going to need that either. It won't let me subtract that, so I have to go on the wall on the side. Sometimes objects cannot be deleted from certain points. You just won't allow it. This program won't let you. You will find out. But as you can see, you can delete it. Now, this was for me to be able to go up and down. I don't need that area either. However, I do need this section. This section here is part of the foot. Now I have a space for that servo that I need it there. So I'm going to go ahead and import my servo. That I created a few days ago. So import 3D model. Go to browse in my computer. I'm going to go to my accessories folder, and I'm going to look for that 60 kilogram servo that I created a few days ago. Now, this servo, the way I created it, let me move it sideways, away from the foot. So what happened is that I created the cover plate that was in the bottom, and I created where the motor assembly goes. In order to save space, I need to delete these sections. I don't need this section. I do need the gearbox, which is up here. So I'm going to try to minimize space by deleting it. So I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to remove the cover for the motors and for the board. Now, this is the part that I need, except that I need to place the motor. There is that the motor that is there, it needs to be back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure that motor, and I'm going to make a cylinder to place it on the bottom of there. So let me go into shapes, click on cylinder, and I'm going to measure my motor with a caliper again, and I measure that my motor is 0.95. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, so it's 0.96. Now I need to divide 0.96 into half. A good tool to keep is a calculator here. Um, a lot of people can actually do this by mental. I can do it too, but I'm trying to teach you that you don't have to, you can cheat a few times. So 0.96 divided by 2 gives me 0.48, which is the radius of this part. And the height of the motor, as I can see here, it is 1.25. So I'm going to go ahead and type in that number of 1.25 inches in this section here, and that will give me the size of that motor completely. There you go. So now I have the size of the motor completely. Now I need to attach this cylinder to my gearbox, and I need to make sure it's centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this so I can see both of those objects bottom, and I'm going to attach this section to this section, which will place that cylinder right in the middle. It's going to be perfectly in the middle. Now I need to move this motor to the side, and I need to make sure that it is in the proper position. So now I need to measure the wall from the original gear that I removed, the little box, the cover, from that wall to that motor, and that will give me a number, a reference of how much do I need to keep that that motor apart from this wall. So let me move for a second. I'm going to create a small part, and it tells me I'm going to attach it to this face. One second. And I'm going to, the space that I need is 0.22. So I'm going to change everything to 0.22, 0.22. So that way I know exactly where I am. Now I'm going to attach it to this face. So I know that they're precisely together. And now I'm going to move this part a little lower, just so I can track it. And I'm going to move it 0.22, which is the distance that I need to move that cylinder or that motor to. 0.22. That's perfect. As you can see, it is nice and flush with the face. Now I need to move this cylinder close to that part that I just made. And there should be an easy way to do this. I'm still learning, but I kind of cheat and I do it visually. So I zoom in, and I know as soon as I touch that part, I know that I am there. Too much, there we go. And that is it. That is my space that I need. That cylinder belongs there. Now I'm going to zoom back out, and this part I don't need anymore, so I'm going to remove it, and I have the part that I need to subtract from the foot. Now these pieces are still separate, so what I need to do is create one single part that I can put in there and remove. If I try to do that the way it is now, I'm going to delete little pieces. First the motor, first the bottom, first the gear, the second gear, and that's too much work. So what I need to do is put this object, convert this whole object, all the parts, into just one single unit. That way, when I subtract this part from where I need it, it will do it in one shot. There you go. So now this is one single piece. Now I need to move that part where I need it down here. So let's go ahead and move. I need to do some rotation, and it's okay if you don't get it right, as long as you keep everything square, 90 degrees and 180 degrees. No more, no less. Keep the math exact. 180 minus 90. Oh, the problem is that I need that this rotated, so we'll rotate again to 180. And we'll position this part where I need it. Remember that there's a servo on top of this servo. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I clear that servo. So I'm going to move this here and try to make sure that I don't hit that servo. So I'm going to go lower, and I'm going to leave also a little space for clearance. Great. That's good. I'm going to move this. Now I'm going to flush that part as much as I can in. This can be disorienting a little bit. and I want to position it where it doesn't hit anything else that I don't need. And what I'm trying to do is match this face with the face of the servo on top. There you go. This is where I need this. And it looks good back here. The only problem is that on the other side here, this this servo is not going to go in there because of the piece hitting. So I need to make this, delete this, and make this part square so I can subtract it and I can insert that servo at any time. It won't work the way I'm doing it now. There you go. So now it's nice and square. Now I need to delete this part, but before I do that, I want to also leave a servo there. So I know that I have a servo there. So I'm going to copy this servo, and I'm going to take one of them, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Um, it's just for clearance. So I'm going to use the scale, and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, enough to just clear it and make sure that it has some space so where I can put that piece. And I'm sorry I still haven't mastered this part. So sometimes I'm like, don't know which number to type in here. And I just go visually. I think I need like 0.03. Well, I don't know how this works, but just give me a second and I will try to get it in there. That's too big. That's too little. Actually, it's big. I need to put a dot here. There you go. I think it's 0.03 that I need. Yeah, that's it. 0.04 works. Now I need to subtract. This is the original minus this. Press enter. And now my part has the hole to accept the servo, and I still got a servo here to be part. Now I need to move this foot to see if everything still fits in. And remember, I moved it 8 inches. So I'm going to make sure that I moved it back the same amount. And these visible parts, they're not extruding from the foot. I still got like 1/4 of an inch extra to put silicone in it. even though I think that this servo is coming out more than a 0.25, I think that will work. Even if I have to make the